up. Please proceed.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here today. So as you said, Ingrid, I created a resource that's called Tradupreneur for translators to help them with anything to do with starting and running their business. Because when I myself started working as a freelance translator, before that I was a business advisor, and I noticed that people around me were not very at ease with selling, pricing services, accounting, all this fun stuff. So I thought that I'd first started with a blog and then share more information on what I find is crucial for any freelancer is really how to run and properly manage your business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Do you want me to start the presentation?
If you like.
Okay. So pricing, as I said, pricing is very important because you basically it's anything that will maintain your activity. So you really need to pay close attention to it. So what I'd like to do is cover three steps. First, a research of your market, so you know as much as you can on offer and demand. Also, the calculation itself, how to go step by step to price your services. And then finally, the mindset that you need to work on to have the confidence to price and communicate that price to your client.
I love your title.
So research really is any information you can find on offer, demand, and the environment. Like the offer is anybody who offers the same services as you do. Can be other freelancers, but not only. You also have intermediaries like agencies. Any solutions like artificial intelligence, for example, also provides for us translation services. So we kind of have to account for that. And you study like what their strategies, how they position themselves with clients and their prices, if you can find information on that. You also want to study the demand, people that are needing your services. What are they expecting? What are their needs and their expectations? So you can fulfill these needs and really get to know them very closely. And finally, the environment is any external element that can have an influence on your price. That can be regulations. For example, if there's an obligation to translate some content, well, that will create a need for your services. That can be worldwide event like the pandemic. That can be trends, technology. All of these factors are interesting. It's not only a research you do at the beginning of your activity, but throughout the time. So you really constantly look for and get to know your environment better. Really, the goal behind all this is to position yourself on the market, because there's not just one market. There's many different segments, different areas which you can go. In translation, we often talk about what I call the bulk market. It's really high volumes, low margins, low cost. On the bulk market, all the service providers are kind of interchangeable. So you all provide the same thing. And so you can switch from one to the others. There's no really any difference. At the other end of the spectrum, you have like the premium market where the stakes are higher. The clients have very specific needs and they're looking for the right person. They expect more. And as a result, you need to deliver on that value that they expect. So really to position yourself on the market that is more interesting financially and also for projects, you kind of need to focus on the value and what value you provide clients, because that's what they're looking for. So value is really the ability to satisfy a need. You kind of have to imagine that your clients have a little scale in their head where they're constantly weighting the benefit that you provide, what they get when they work with you, the solution, and the cost of it. Like they're always doing that little, so it's a bit subjective. It's different from one person to another, and it depends on different criteria. And it's not always the the lowest price that is convincing, right? Not everybody is looking for the cheapest solution out there. So you kind of have to know what they're expecting, what they need in order to put forward that value. So now, step by step, what you need to do to set your prices, and it's often a mistake that people do, like when they start, they often look at competition, what others are doing, and I'm just going to set my price at the same level, and that's it. Start with yourself. Start first of all to see how many hours you can work in a week and a year, because we as writers or as translators, we don't make money when we sleep. We have to be concentrated, awake. What we sell is really what I call the brain juice. Like you really have to be present. So find out how many hours you can dedicate to your service, and take out all the unpaid tasks that you will have to do. Because when you run a business, you're not only translating or writing, you also have to do all these tasks to manage your business. You're marketing your services, you attend training sessions like today, or you're writing a client, you're going to a trade show. And that time is not billable. You're not going to invoice a client for it. So it has to be considered in the overall objective that you have. You need to sum up also all the expenses that you occur to run your business, all your subscription, your professional memberships, your supplies, anything that you need to pay to run your business, and also what you need to make as an income to stay in business. That's part of the cost of doing business. Your goal is to make enough money to make a living. So that also consider that amount to pay for rent, food, clothing, anything that, so you don't have to look for part-time or full-time employment to maintain your lifestyle. And then finally, plan to save. Very important also when you work for yourself, because you want to have like a steady paycheck month to month. Like you need to have a fund when you can get some money when you have a slower period, or if you need to renew your equipment, or if you go on holidays. You don't have paid holidays when you're a freelancer, so you need to set money aside. That has to be part of your goal as well, so you can maintain your activity on the longer run. So concretely, you will do that type of calculation where you sum up all of that, the expenses, your income goal, also tax and social security that can be quite high. Like Ingrid and I are in France. That weighs heavily on the total cost of running your business. So that will allow you to get your target revenue. And if you divide that target revenue by the billable hours that you've calculated earlier, you get your target hourly rate. That's the minimum amount you need to make per hour when you work for a client to be profitable, to stay in business. So then you need to charge above that target. So if you don't charge by the hour, a lot of us in translation charge by the word, for example, you'll have to convert that hourly target rate into words or per line or page or whatever. There's different ways to price your services, but you'll have to do that conversion. That's an example. I'm sorry, it's in French because I don't have time to translate it, but you can create like a little formula to calculate if you're above or below that target. That helps you decide very quickly if a project is worth your time or not. Because really what's important, we've seen that you need to generate revenue that is high enough to cover your expenses and allow you to earn a living out of this activity. So if you don't reach that target, you'll have two course of action. You can lower your expenses, of course, look for discounts and review what you spend money on, or you can increase your income by actioning the levers that we talked about, the time that you work, the rate, of course, and your productivity. But there's also two elements that are often not considered, but very important, is the value, as we said, like the values a client see in your services, because they may be willing to pay more if to them it's valuable, and the confidence in which you communicate your price as well. I've seen very experienced and competent translators really fail and have a hard time maintaining their activity, having to quit or get a job because they had a hard time selling their services, to communicate with clients with confidence and to show the value that they can provide. So it's really a matter of mindset, really. You also have different strategies. You don't have to do like everybody else. You can price per unit, by word, for example, or by page, but it's not always the best option because it kind of pushes you toward the bulk market. You remember, like where high volumes, low margins, everybody is interchangeable. When you price per unit, you're selling, that's what you're selling. You're selling a word or you're selling a page. So you're really in more of a production line kind of activity. You can also charge your time. A lot of freelancers work that way. They charge by the hour, a day, or half day. I don't really like that solution either, because clients are interested when they ask you for a quote, they want to know how much it's going to cost. And when you charge by the hour, you estimated the time. And if you make a mistake, or if it takes a lot of much time than you thought, you're going to have to amend your quote. You're going to have to change the price to the client, which can be very irritating to them. Also, in the back of their mind, they're always thinking, you're kind of, what are you doing with your time? They want to know. They're either going to ask you for a timesheet, or they're going to think that you may wasting time for like not pricing exactly the time spent, which is very strange, because when we do studies with freelancer, we found that often freelancers have a tendency to minimize the amount of time that they spend. They usually don't invoice the exact amount of time that they spend on a project. They have a tendency to lower that, because if you stare at a wall trying to like make a sentence into your mind, or if you have a brilliant idea while you're doing grocery shopping, you're not going to charge the client for that time. So really, everybody is a bit frustrated when you charge by the hour. Also, you have, when you're experienced, you're at a disadvantage to somebody who's new in the market, who's going to be slower than you. So the only way to compensate and to sell your expertise is to increase regularly your hourly rate, which again can be irritating for the client. So really the best option I find for like pricing strategy is to charge a flat rate. It's called value-based pricing. Is like you basically charge a number for your service, and you explain to the client what you do for him or her. Like, I will research your market, I will translate your document, and I will work on terminology, and we'll have like 2 editing rounds where we correct and amend the translation. So you really focus the client's attention on the value that you create instead of the unit or the time. You think, really, it's a mindset change, because you think as an entrepreneur who creates value, who provides solutions, and not as an employee who sells their time, or as a factory worker who sells unit produced. Well, that's kind of the idea. So when I talk about mindset, it's really something you have to work on all the time. Like we're all, especially in the translation industry, I think we all have a little voice in our head that tells us that we're not good enough. We compare ourselves to others, and we think like, oh, I don't have that experience, I don't have that degree, I don't have as many clients or talents or whatever. If you really have to try to quiet that little voice and work on yourself to project more confidence, because the more confident you are, the more the client sense it. Remember, it's an immaterial product. You're not selling something that the client can touch. He has to base his decision on perception, on the image that you project, the what he sees in yourself. Do you look professional? Do you look like you know what you're talking about? That's very subjective elements to base a decision on, but it's very crucial. As I said, I've seen very competent translators fail because they didn't have that skill, that ability to communicate their worth. So you have to know it, and then you have to communicate it. So if you don't have, like, none of us are really natural born sellers. Usually it's a skill that you develop. So if you don't know, you feel that you need more improvement in that area, I would strongly suggest that you take training, or you find somebody like a coach to guide you through that, to help you really feel more confident.
Gaële, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you because this is a topic we are going to tackle the next time. So in 2 weeks' time, we're going to tackle how to sell one's worth.
So you'll learn how to sell it, but first of all, feel it in yourself.
Yes, you have to feel it, to know it, to be aware of it, and then sell it.
And communicate.
Thank you.
So that's it for me. Like, go around the topic, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Gaële. It was really very interesting, and you've made us laugh a couple of times too. So very nice. Especially like the idea we cannot be productive while we sleep.
Yep.
Kind of obvious, but somehow it's very important to be aware of that. So Dalia, you're back. Thank you for giving us from your time, despite the very urgent projects you're working on. So thank you. Camille is with us, but from, I think, the train or something. Hi, Camille, how are you? Nice that you came to us.
Hello, I'm good. I was able to follow the conversation, I think, for 15 minutes. So thank you very much, Gaële. It was really interesting and very insightful, as I'm just starting out as a freelance translator. And yes, I'm just about to jump in my train in the 15 minutes. So I was no video and no sound, just not to see film.
That's fine. No problem.
Well, Ingrid recorded it, and I'll share the presentation so you can catch up. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send them by mail.
By the way, now I will stop the recording because we have to feel free about asking questions. And so that's why I'll stop the recording now.